Hello everyone and welcome to the session third on our lecture series Ethics, Integrity and Aptitude GS paper 4 for CSE mains. Quickly let's start with the recap of the previous session. First we discussed the practice question. Basically we had an answer writing session. Hope it was helpful for you. Then we saw determinants of ethics, basically the factors which contribute to the formulation of ethics and which were person, place and time. Then we saw in the context of moral philosophy, universalism, relativism, nihilism. Alright, then we saw consequences of ethics, basically what happens if we follow ethics or we don't follow ethics. We saw positive consequence through a structured format on society, individual, organization. Okay. Then we saw the negative consequences again in a structured format on basically four effects. Then I showed you about politics. Basically, the aim was the aim behind showing you politics differently or separately was that I wanted to tell you that you can add any topic and basically link the consequences with any topic. Okay. Then we saw ethics and then we saw the section which was human values. In that we read about leaders, administrators, reformers. We saw about Nelson Mandela and his golden aim of forgiveness. We saw Narayan Murthy, how he handled things, right? We saw about Mr. Cool, Captain Cool. Okay. Then we read about reformers such as Rajaram Mohan Roy, Sunita Krishnan. One thing I would like to point out here that we read about Sunita Krishnan because I wanted to tell you or show you by giving an example that we don't have to always write the reformers in the past. We can also discuss about the reformers who are right now alive and working towards right of many people, like people who might be working for LGBT rights. Okay, then Me Too movement happened. Okay, so people who are taking the fight to the forefront for rights of people, you can also write their name. That is very important to know. That will also give your answer a contemporary basically look. All right, and the examiner will also appreciate that the person is contemporarily aware. We will then we saw example of E. Sridharan, then Armstrong Pam. These are administrators. Okay. Okay, we will see example of more leaders as we go on and study next chapters, especially in aptitude and then values in the unit 6 or 7 we'll study. We'll see such examples. Okay. Then we saw then I gave you an assignment. Okay, I hope you have written it because we are going to just discuss it right now and hopefully it helps you. All right, so let's start with the question. Do you think virtue of leadership is intrinsically linked to ethically sound decision making? So I did focus a lot on decision making, right? Discuss with an example. I told you the approach in the last lecture itself. Although we have not read about or basically we haven't given you a proper definition of leadership. We will discuss that today. Okay, so it will help you connect leadership and decision making. I hope you have written an answer for it, because if I keep giving you answers and you have not practiced it yourself, it is not going to help you that much. Please remember that. So I hope you have written some answer or at least thought a structure, so that when I tell you now, it will be easier for you to remember and relate. Okay, so let's start with the answer. Okay, so before starting the answer itself, I would like to draw your attention. Just give me a second. Okay, so I would like to just draw your attention to a bit of introduction. Like as we have not yet studied leadership, but we will do that in like aptitude and emotional intelligence. We will discuss the features of let's say leadership and what are the characteristics of it. So basically, before we start, let me give you an idea so that you can understand the answer. Let me give you an idea about leadership. So basically, it is a holistic competency. Okay, that's a keyword, holistic competency. That means a person has a lot of features, then only they become a leader. Okay, so holistic means 360 degree, wholesome. Okay, they cover a lot of area. So a person who can be termed as a leader, they have a lot of features in them, they have a lot of characteristics. Okay, the first thing is that holistic competency. Okay, so coming to the question, just a second. Yeah, so coming to the question, it asks, do you think the virtue of leadership is intrinsically linked to ethically sound decision making? So intrinsically, I hope you know what it means. It basically means that it at the core of it, at the core of leadership, there is ethically sound decision making. It means that. Okay. All right. So we need to discuss it with example. Okay. So before we start again, I would like to give you some examples so as to make a base of it. Let's say very famous Ram versus Ravan. Okay. Then we had studied about Mr. Narayan Murthy. Okay. Versus Ramalingam Raju. Why I'm saying versus, I'll tell you. Then fictional example. Let's take a fictional examples. Avengers versus Thanos. All right. So we have such examples. And I think you will agree that everybody was leader because everybody was able to make people follow them towards a common goal. So Ram did that, Ravan did that, Narayan Murthy was able to do it, Ramalingam Raju was able to do it, Avengers were able to do it. Similarly, Thanos was able to do it. So these people all were leaders, right? But why some leaders were known as good leaders versus bad, right? So that is the difference, and that is because of the ethics they follow. Got it? So that is why. So answer is proved here, right? That ethics is intrinsically linked to leadership. All right. So leadership, especially, that is good for society. Otherwise, every leadership is good leadership, right? How do we differentiate between things? So if ethics and some people, let's say, like I just told you about, that it is good for society. So these people transform the society. Okay, so ethics are intrinsically linked. This was the idea I wanted to give you before let we start the answer, because we haven't yet discussed about leadership in detail. So let's start. Okay, so I'll start with two definitions, and in this question also you can start with a simple introduction with the definition of leadership. Okay, it's a straightforward question, not much difficulty. So do you think virtue of leadership? So basically it has not yet asked, but you can write it to introduce the concept. So there are two definitions. I'll read them out for you, but these are given later in the session also, in this session, so you don't need to write it right now. So leadership is concerned with direction and control of human resource to create value, to create value and evolve structures in contemporary times. Okay, for basically defined goals and objectives. Let me take you to the definition. It is concerned with the direction and control of human material and source to create value and evolve structure as per contemporary times and outperform defined goals and objective. Okay, this might be a little complicated definition. Okay, but this is good for understanding the leadership. So a simpler definition is basically leaders are those people who know the art of motivating a group of people to achieve a common goal, to take an action towards common goal. So these are the two definitions which you can use, and whatever you're comfortable with, you can write it in the exam. Okay, so goal, like for Ram it was retrieving Sita, है ना? For Raja Ram Mohan Roy it was eradicating Sati from the culture of India. So they motivated people towards achieving a common goal. That is important. Okay. So is ethics an integral part? As we just saw, ethics separates good versus bad leader. So yes, it is an intrinsic part. Okay, but we can write this in conclusion. Okay, so first we are going to prove it, that how ethics makes decision making better of leaders. Okay, so basically in the body, this was the introduction. So you define, and I just said yes to make it clear to you that where we are going. So introduction, you just write definition. Okay, and if you want, you can write it in one line so that the examiner also comes to know that yes, the person has understood. So you can say that yes, for ethically sound decision, for ethical leadership, for transformational leadership, ethics is required. Okay, all right, so let's move to the body part. Okay, before that, I just got reminded that, see, transformational leadership through ethical decision making. I would like to explain this to you, okay, so that you clearly understand what is ethical decision making. See, basically, such leaders, they are basically, they take care of concerns of all stakeholders as much as possible, because in real life you cannot satisfy everybody all the time, but you do have to take care of the most vulnerable. Okay, you need to be sensitive to the needs and concerns of at least the most vulnerable. You have to take care of all the people, but you cannot leave aside people who are vulnerable. Here you can link Gandhi ji's talisman. He said, right, his talisman says that imagine the weakest person you have seen while taking a decision, and if it helps them, then go ahead with the decision. So that is the thing. Okay, next, they just don't consider positive and negative of a thing, they ethically justify something. Okay, like if a vulnerable person is coming to you and they don't have documents, you will not straight away reject them, you will try to help them. So that is a ethical governance, right? Then when they behave in a selfless way. Okay, I'm talking about ethical leaders, not just simply leaders. Okay, now I'm not talking about some CEOs or some politicians. I'm talking about ethical leaders like Mother Teresa, right? Mr. Nelson Mandela, we just discussed about him yesterday, right? So those people should be kept in mind while discussing this answer. Okay, they are selfless, they are open to people, like okay, please come and talk to us and all that. They are accountable. Okay, they don't basically, impunity is a term, they don't work with impunity, they are accountable to people. Okay, so now you understand ethical decision making, right? Okay, let's move ahead. Coming to the body part, we need to link leadership with ethics. Okay, now here we can start with why not leaders, other leaders, why not rich people? Okay, they're business leaders, there might be business leaders, there might be industry leaders, entertainment leaders, but there are very few people who are actually remembered after 100 years at a global level or a national level. Okay, so again, ethics. Okay, okay, let's come to another point. So for the outline, okay, we are going to basically discuss, just a second. Okay, we are just going to basically discuss the unit 1 only today also. Okay, we'll be continuing with the unit 1, ethics and human interface, right? In that we are going to see first private and public ethics, Okay, then we'll discuss about values and how values are inculcated in somebody. Okay, basically role of family and all that. Okay, so chalo, let's start. Okay, these are the diagrams from the previous sessions. As I promised, I'll keep giving you diagrams from my own lectures which I've made. Okay, this will help you revise. Okay, this is in the context of moral philosophy, universalism, realism, nihilism. Okay, these philosophies. Then consequences of ethics. I have made it into short notes. Okay, individual, organization, social issues, basically consequences. Okay, all right. Okay, leadership, we have already seen this. So basically this one is a bit hard definition, so you can remember this simple one and just mug it up. Okay, there is no harm in it. You can just simply mug it up and write it in your exam, no worries. Okay, all right. So let's start with ethics and unit ethic. Let's start with ethics in private and public relationship, which is part of unit 1. Okay, let's start with private ethics. As you can understand, ethics followed in private relations. What are private relations? Which we follow with our parents, with our friends, right? So these are private relations. So why private these are called? Because these are informal in nature. Main thing is they are informal in nature and there are no strict rules. There are no strict rules. Okay, so basically family and friends relationship. Okay, or and they are informal and they follow no strict rules. Okay, so basically we'll take an example. In Ramayana, basically Ram followed the words of his father to go to exile, right? His father Dashrath ordered him. So basically he did not argue much, and that was his ethics with his father. Okay, that was his own dharma towards as a son towards his father. So that was his ethics that he followed in the personal life. Okay, so things which are rules of behavior which are followed in personal life, you are right. Then informal, they are informal, there are no strict rules. Okay, it can depend from one family to another family. As you have also seen that parent and child relationship in many families is sometimes very liberal, is sometimes very strict, okay, and sometimes very conservative, okay, or mix of conservative and strict, okay, or strict or bit of lenient balance of each of things. So it depends, conservative and basically modern. So it can lie anywhere here. Okay, so these are the things which are strictly related to private relationships. Okay, your relationship with your siblings, for an example, some siblings fight a lot, right, but some siblings don't fight a lot. So all these things are particular to a group. All right, okay, and these are private, they are not applicable to some people who are not in your family. Friends, yes, not for professional friends. Okay, personal friends. All right, like in personal friends, we keep very informal language, as you can understand. Abusive language is also used, but people don't mind because that is the rule of that group. But that is not applicable to public relations or public ethics, which we'll just see now. Okay. Okay. So coming to public ethics, basically the way we behave outside our personal sphere. Okay, this is a personal sphere, and outside there might be a boss. Okay, there might be relatives who are not so close to you. Okay, there might be your clients, colleagues. Okay, so basically this picture exemplifies this. Okay, so public ethics are followed in organization or professional spheres. I have told you this. Okay, but here one thing is important, that the person sees themselves in a context. Like here there is no context in, sorry, here in personal life there is no context. Here they see themselves as part of something. Okay, please understand this, part of something. They consider themselves part of the, let's say, office, right? That is the best example. they deal with the shopkeeper, then that is a different context. Okay, they deal with their boss, that's a different context. They deal with let's say a client, like I said, that's a different context, right? So they consider themselves a part of something bigger than themselves. But if we compare it to private ethics, okay, now you will understand and appreciate it better. If we consider private ethics, here there is no context, and it is more based on let's say emotions of the person, of basically let's say your emotion. Okay, if your mood is off, let me just give you an example. If your mood is off, you might not talk to a friend, or you might even dare basically to be rude with a friend, right, but you cannot do that with the boss. So here things become different. I'm not saying you'll become rude with your friend, but I'm just telling you that you have the freedom to do it over here. But the friend will also ask, right, what happened, why are you being so rude, why are you behaving this way? So understand this. Okay, here emotions play more role than formal rules. Okay, here formal rules play a major role, even though let's say some people are so basically they have, you must have heard about word work ethics. Some people are so good in that, they are very disciplined, punctual, but when we meet our friends, sometimes we can go late, right? Because we understand that people sorry, our friends will understand. So there are no formal rules. That is what I meant by unwritten rules. Now here when you see public ethics, here things are somewhat written. Okay, why I say somewhat? Because sometimes it can be unwritten also. But please remember that there is some or the other way of conducting yourself, which is called basically a professional way of conducting yourself. Okay, so please remember this red part. Individual perceives themselves a part of context and not as a separate entity. Okay, they follow code of ethics. Okay, code of conduct, laws, rules. Okay, they can be written or unwritten, like I just said. Okay, so I hope you have understood, and in a comparative way I have told you. Okay, so code of example, like previously we took an example of Ramayana. Here we'll take an example of code of ethics for doctors, okay, or civil servants. So basically in civil servants it is much more relevant for us. Here I would like to tell you that it is not there formally as of yet. So second ARC has recommended it. Okay, so in many banks when you go, there is a board. Okay, I think it's green or blue color, where it is written code of conduct. Okay, what they will do and all that, or sometimes code of ethics is also written over there. In private institutions it is also there. Okay, so look for the board, look for the notice board. There might be written some things like code of ethics or code of conduct, right? What they promise the customer is basically how will they will behave. So that is code of ethics. Okay, so public ethics and private ethics, I hope you have understood the difference between them. Okay, one is based on not based on rules, one is based on rules. You know which is which. All right, okay, so let's move forward. So now let's try to understand the relation. Just give me a second. Now let's try to understand the relation between the public and private ethics. Okay, we shall take an example. Let's say on this graph, okay, this is the most private relation, and here it's the most public relation. Okay, what is the most private relation you can think of? Can you give me an example? uh, can you think of anything? Okay, first thing you can think about is the relation between a person and their god. Okay, है ना? This is the most personal thing. What other relation can be there between husband and wife? Intimate relation. Okay, Romeo Juliet, sort of this thing, right? So these are the private relations which are very intimate. Okay, not shared with the world. Extreme example. Extreme public relation. Is a relation between you and your boss a public relation? Yes, but is it the example of the most extreme one? No, because you already have a contact, or there is a reason to talk. But when on the street you wish someone hello, that is one of the most public relations that you can have. Okay, right? Because you don't know them, right? That they are stranger. You are not obligated. You are not required to talk to them. As simple as that. Okay. So now, why am I telling you this? Because when I want to tell you an example considering the bureaucracy of India. So earlier, before independence, let's say it was somewhere here, okay, where they were more concerned about public ethics. Okay, basically they were let's say not much involving with people. They were more of a babu culture, which is still existing at many places. So they remained away from the public. They did not get emotionally involved. So basically, like we just read, in private relations there is a lot of emotion. So let's say highest let's say this is the middle ground, right? So 0 to, let's say 1 is the highest emotion over here, 1 is the highest rules. Okay, so both are balanced here, but they keep on increasing like this. Okay, so here emotions and rules are balanced. Here emotions keep increasing, here rules keep increasing. So in British era, bureaucracy was lying somewhere here. They followed a lot of rules and less emotions. Okay, so that is why there is a basically babu culture, which I just told. Okay, now coming to the current bureaucracy, it is slowly moving towards this area. Okay, why they are doing this? So that they can connect more with people, because we are no more, basically we are now a republic, right? We are not a colony anymore. So the people who are in civil services, they are our own citizens. So they thought that we should increase the emotional connect with people. Okay, all right. So let us just okay, I hope this is clear, and this is the in context of bureaucracy, okay, of current India. It is somewhere here, okay, in this region. Okay, now you might be thinking, why don't they just move towards totally emotional thing? Right, have an emotional connect with people and all. See, issue that comes from that is basically it will lead to spoil system. Okay, like we have read in a banker, in the banker example in our earlier lecture, if the person follows too much emotion, that person will give the loan, but the person who is taking the loan might default later, and there might be an inquiry and the rules might have been broken then, है ना? Sorry, he might be caught that rules were broken. So the spoil system will come up, favoritism will come up. Okay, then nepotism, crony capitalism, such things will come up. Why do they come up? When people focus more on emotions than rules. And if there is too much focus on rules, then also there is something negative results of it. Can you think of those things? Basically there is apathy, like you are going there is an example, like in a late night some ladies went to an IPS officer's house because they were basically afraid, or they were being let's say not chased, but they were being followed or something. So this is just an example. It can be IS also. Okay, it can be any other government official. IPS because we that is a police service and law and order service. So the ladies went to IPS's house, and it was late in night. So the person was rude and said that, okay, so there are two ways it can be handled. Either he can give shelter, or he can give his own car, personal car, or his official car, that please leave, drop these ladies at their home. And but the person can behave in another way, which will be simply say no, that this is not the time, or might talk badly with them, but in the end he might or she might give the car also to send those people home. Okay, the best behavior would be to bring those ladies inside. Okay, offer them tea or water or whatever. Okay, rest, make them rest for 5-10 minutes, and then let's say have his official car come up and drop those people home. Okay, so this is the best solution. Okay, second best would be just make them talk at the gate and just give them the car and they can leave. Third solution, which is the worst solution, will be not helping them or scolding them first. Okay, so you have to balance emotions plus rules. All right. Okay. So I hope you have understood this point. All right. Let's move on. Private and public relationship. Okay, here I am going to give you two examples on how private relation can turn into public relation and how public relation can turn into private relation. So first let's see public to private. Okay, let's see, let's just take our relationship, like you are watching this video right now. Okay, so there is a disconnect, there is a relationship which is very formal. Okay, right now we are just, I don't even know you, you don't know me, right? We are just connected through diadomy. Okay, so let's move on how it will be converted to private. Let's say we come into touch, you ask a doubt. Okay, you have some issue that, sir, I'm facing this issue, how to resolve it, kindly guide. So I tell you those things. Okay, then maybe there is a class that doesn't happen. Okay, then you will be like, where is sir, what happened, is he okay, and all that. Then let's see, you go and give a test, let's say prelims or mains. You go and give it, then I first of all wish you like, okay, hey, good luck, do well. Then after the exam I ask you like, how is it going, how did it go, what did you feel, was it easy or hard? So this is how a relationship or basically develops from public to private. Okay, then we come to private to public. Basically in this graph we discussed that husband wife relationship is one of the most intimate and private relationships. Okay, now many times things happen. Okay, fights happen. Okay, disagreements happen. Sometimes these disagreements are so severe, so deep that they spill over to the public arena. How? Courts, by involving families. Okay, so or the wife or husband basically starts fighting in the open in public. So when such things happen, the private relationship turns into a public relationship. Basically people outside your personal sphere get involved, as simple as that. Okay, so these were the examples. You can relate and much more examples, but this is sort of a universal one. This is also very easy to remember. Okay. Okay, all right. So what is the relation between public and private ethics? So first of all, so basically if the relationship between private and public ethics is good, they are going well together, their relationship is in congruence, so that leads to harmony. All right, that harmony can lead to positive results, and you might be surprised at this, it can also lead to negative results. Okay, now this is why you need to study ethics, because there are some hidden things which you will not realize, and this is why some answers are not wholesome. Okay, this is the difference. If you study ethics well, and it is also not a big course, it's like, so it will be a smaller course than basically, let's say, GS paper 3. Okay, as a whole it will be a smaller course than that, so return on investment is quite good on ethics paper. So if you if you prepare well, you will be able to understand hidden issues. You will be able to understand hidden issues, which the point is, you might not have studied some things. Okay, you might not have experienced everything in life. So with ethics, with our course, we'll give you a lot of examples. So what you will be able to do is, you will be able to know about the things you have not experienced yet. Okay, and ethics is all about thinking, right? You have to think a little. Answers cannot be mugged up, you know this, so that is why you need to prepare it more. Okay, so there are some hidden issues like this one, like how you will be thinking how harmony would lead to negative consequences. We'll see that. Now if their relationship is of a conflict one, like private is going against the public ethics, then what happens? Then also it can lead to positive results. You can easily relate conflict with negative consequences and harmony with positive consequences, right? But connecting harmony with negative, connecting conflict with positive can be a little, let's say, counterintuitive. So how and why? We'll see that just now. All right, let's now see, read about harmony. Okay, so if both the relationships are existing in harmony, that is ethics and morality are in harmony, what would be the effects? Okay, we'll see that right now. Also, we can understand it if we think of the topic that public ethics and private ethics are in harmonious relation. Then the effect, what are the effects, what are the positive effects, what are the negative effects? We are going to see that. Okay, so let's say harmony is there between public ethics and private ethics. Okay, so if there is a harmony, what will it lead to? Let's say positive effects. So let's divide this: positive effect, negative effect. In the negative effects, it can lead to social conformity. And why this is negative? Let me just tell you by example. See, what happens is, let's say, let's take an example of Khap Panchayat, which is quite famous and everybody relates with it. So, Khap Panchayat issues basically order that girls are not allowed to wear jeans, they are not, allowed mobiles, some weird thing. Okay, so if they do that, that is public ethics. Okay, now if the family of the girl agrees, or sometimes even the girl agrees, okay, so the family and the girl agrees, it is the sphere of private ethics. So if this happens, then there is conformity. Okay, although this is not right, I'm not saying that it is right, but I'm just saying in reality this can happen, and this happens also. Okay, so what will happen? Okay, so this was the example of social conformity. The negative result of this is there will be very less or almost no social change, because when there is a congruence, okay, see people, what does happen? I have told you about this, that the leadership, okay, this relation, okay, society and individual, I have taught you about this relation, that individual changes society. Okay, so here if the individual is agreeing with the rules of the society, then there will be no change, right? Okay, so this is how you relate the concepts, and this is a beauty of our course, that will teach you how to relate things, how to relate previous concepts with these concepts, how to relate previous year questions with your answers. So this is the thing, and this is an example, very easy to understand. You don't need to define social conformity. You can just tell that if public and private relations are in congruence, okay, it will lead to no social change. All right, so this is the negative effect. Now coming to the positive effect, if they are in harmony, sorry, positive effect of harmony, what will it lead to? Let's say people agree on dignity of women. Okay, so Vishaka guidelines. Okay, sexual harassment at workplace law came, right? So if the laws and the private, see, women agreed, families agreed that yes, dignity, we need to secure dignity of women. Okay, and the court also agreed. So Vishaka guidelines, law, government also agreed. Okay, so such things come out when there is harmony related to something. Okay, another example we can take is, let's say there was an encounter in 2015. Okay, in Manipur. Here the Supreme Court said no, you need to file FIR. Okay, so basically what happened was people wanted justice and courts agreed, which means harmony. Okay, Another thing we can this what happens, this leads to social change, because what I just told you, that the individual leads the change. Okay, when individual feels that way, and slowly when laws and courts feel that way, then society sees a change in its legal structure. But first the social change must come within the society. Okay. All right, so these are the positive and the negative effects of harmony between public and private ethics. All right. Okay. Before moving on, some harmony is needed, but not full harmony. This is the extreme harmony. Okay, but this is some harmony. If there is a lot of harmony, it will lead to social conformity and no social change will come. And if there is some harmony, okay, then social change comes. This might be a little difficult to understand, but point is you can understand through the examples that I've given. Here you can take one more thing, Sabrimala. Struggle is going on, and so even Supreme Court supported after much struggle. Okay, so such things lead to social change. Please remember that. Okay. All right. So let us move on to next topic. Okay, relationship conflict. That is when ethics are against morality. That is public public rules or public ethics are against personal ethics. Okay, then what happens? Okay, we shall see that the positive and negative effect of both, positive and negative both effect of conflict. Oh, just a second. Made a small spelling mistake, pardon me. All right, so with conflict what happens? Let's again take an example so that you're able to relate with it quickly. See, you must have heard about Copernicus. Okay, he said against the established ethics, which were that the world is geocentric, that is the earth as its center. This was said by church. So this can be called as ethics, this can be called as morality. All right. Okay, so he said that the world is heliocentric, they said the world is geocentric. So he basically shook the foundation. So and then he basically, this was the truth, right? So when there was a conflict between ethics and morality, there was progress. Okay, similarly Raja Ram Mohan Roy example. Okay, Einstein also gave some groundbreaking theories. Okay, so you can use this example and try to understand that there is some amount of conflict, and that is okay, because that will lead to progress. It will be painful for the people, but it will lead to progress of the society, because this is proved by actual examples which has happened. Okay, so if there is too much conflict, then what happened? Think about it. If there is too much conflict, then there might be too much fight, and what will that lead to? Disintegration of society. Disintegration of society. So disintegration of society, governments will be challenged, their legitimacy will be challenged, they might be overthrown also, it might lead to chaos, anarchy. Now let's see examples. Examples are Arab Spring. Okay, let's see, in our own country Kashmir conflict is going on, left wing extremism is going on, right? So these are relevant examples which you can give. Okay, now in if the conflict is the effect, the positive effect can be called as socio-cultural changes and progressive changes, anything which you want to remember, which you find easier to remember. Okay, so negative effect, positive effect. Okay, all right. Okay, so now that you have seen that the harmony needs to be balanced, okay, conflict also needs to be balanced. Too much of anything is bad. So basically this is Buddhism, you can relate with Buddhism, not this, but Buddhism's Madhyam. Okay, let's move on to the next slide, which is this only. So what is the summary of relation between private and public ethics? See, harmony and conflict can be beneficial as well as harmful. Like I've just explained, both have positive effects, both have negative effects. So in the end, we should aim for balance. That is Madhyam Marg of Buddhism. Okay, so this is very important, so that in society, it progresses. Stagnant society or an archaic society is not at all beneficial for its citizens in the long run. Okay, so basically we need to understand this, and as a civil services aspirant, you also need to understand that you can use conflict for the betterment of society. How? Basically, if some conflict is going on, if there is some demand of the people, they are basically dharna is going on some demand, you can use it to bring in positive changes. Okay, you will not always view it as negatively. You will, when you will read about EI in my class, you will understand that you can use those things to bring out positive change. So this is how we develop attitude, bureaucratic, empathetic attitude, so that we take normal governance to good governance, and our ultimate aim is to have an ethical governance, so that like I told you in that graph, right, that we need to have emotions also, and we need to have rules also. So basically our bureaucracy is getting more and more involved with people, so as to bring changes on the ground. Anyways, so this is our path, this is our ultimate aim, this is the perspective you should have. Okay, so harmony and conflict between can be beneficial as well as harmful, and we need right balance. Okay, that's it. So progress should be welcomed. Something, basically, let's see technology. Okay, some things are not always good for the progress. Basically, just moving forward is not progress. Moving development is progress, not growth. If you want to relate with GS3 economics, you will able to understand better from this that not every time when you move forward it is progress. Okay, you need to ensure that other people are also moving forward. This should be your conclusion. This should be your perspective, which I promised earlier also, that I will be trying to teach you perspectives, rules, by which you can write better answers. So if you have a perspective that you need to take governance not just to good governance but to ethical governance, and you want to take people along, so that you are paying attention to vulnerable section also, which I just mentioned in this lecture. Okay, so as a bureaucrat, as a future bureaucrat, as a civil services aspirant, when you will learn about this, that you need to take people together, okay, then you will move forward towards good governance, ethical governance. So these are interrelated. All right, so I hope this point is clear. Okay, all right, so before moving forward, I'd like to present you with one small quotation or just a statement, that a man who is dishonest with his wife or children, that person cannot be expected to be honest in an organization. So if a person is abusive to wife or abusive to children, does not take out time for his family, or similarly it applies to women. Okay, so basically if the person's private ethics, okay, is in a dismal state, they are not very good, very well maintained, so it certainly affect the following of those ethics, or following ethics in the public domain. Someday it will affect. Okay, this conflict cannot go on unignored for long. Someday it will give effect to the other domain, and if public ethics are bad, some or the other day it will spill into private ethics. Okay, all right, let's move forward. Okay, yeah, so we come to the next section. The previous section is over. Okay, the public and private ethics section is over. Now we'll see the role of family, society and educational institutions in inculcating values. This is our next section of unit 1. Okay, all right. So first we'll see what are values. Okay, so basically these are things that are important to us. We hold them dear. They are closer to our hearts. That is why this photo. Okay, so basically they help us decide what is right and wrong. Okay, or distinguish between right and wrong, what we like, what we don't like. Okay, these becomes standard of deciding things. Okay, these become standards. Okay, now for example, let's say basically environmental degradation or littering. Some companies value profit more than environmental standards, right? That is why they dump wastes. Yes, they value, you must have read about this word in the paper, they value profit more than environmental standards. Not every company, some company. Okay, then there are many people who do not value child labor as something very offensive. Okay, even we are, everybody is guilty of ignoring child labor in front of them. Okay, we just ignore it, we accept it as a part of our culture. Okay, that the person might, the child might just be helping the family. Okay, so that is a one value, because it, we decided, right, it is fine, let it go. But some people, but it is wrong. I'm not saying it is right, I'm just saying that's a value we have developed. Okay, again another thing, caste discrimination. This is another value that this is culturally approved. It will go on, it is going on, it is enduring. Okay, that is why I said over here that these are stable, long lasting beliefs, because beliefs, so they, when beliefs become very strong, they involve core beliefs become values, so they become hard to change. That is why when people I check a lot of copies, so I see people write value education, okay, as a solution to many ethical problems. But the issue is, over here the solution will come in 1 or 2 generations. The value education will result in changes, but that will lead into next century, let's 20 years. But what about immediate? When you are writing an answer, please see that you are dividing short term versus long term answers, solutions. Long term solution is obviously changing ethical standards, values, okay, value education. But the short term things are laws, rules, political will, okay, and changing the attitude of the current generation by using CAB model. Okay, such things you need to write. Okay, so these I hope you understood values. These are what is important to us, they are long lasting. Okay, I have given you, I think, enough examples. Okay, so basically these are standards. Okay, if I have to summarize, these are standards, okay, that guide our conduct. Okay, they are specific also, they are not very general. Okay, because littering, let's say littering, okay, we do it in our country, but if we go outside we don't do it. So these are specific. Okay, and another thing, like they are stable, here stable. Okay, so these are basically its features. All right, so we come to the next part, value inculcation. What does this mean? This means, how do you imbibe values, how do you teach values to someone, how do you make them learn good values. Good values like, think about it, honesty, yeah, not stealing, being kind, okay, such things. Okay, so here well, this is embarrassing, it was 80 only. So the amount was 80 rupees, father gave 100 rupees, he was supposed to, shopkeeper was supposed to return 20 rupees, shopkeeper, I don't know why, gave 40 rupees, so my father returned 20 rupees. Okay, as simple as that. And this has happened with me also, wherein in a 500 rupees change I was given maybe, let's say, 200 rupees extra. This happened when new notes came, you remember, So at that time there was a lot of confusion. So at that time I got more change than I deserved. So I gave it back because I learned, because I saw. You might have seen or heard about this, that monkey see, monkey do. Monkey, whatever it sees, it does. And you will see that children are very good copiers. They very quickly learn the pattern and behavior of their parents. Okay. Another thing, I see how my mother treats the person who comes and works in our house. I have seen other women also treat. Okay, so I have seen how to behave with someone who works for you, and that has helped me become a good leader also in my company. Okay, wherein I treat everybody with respect. It's not necessary that you have to always be strict on the person who is working below you. Okay, they are also contributing in some way, right? So just because you are in a leadership position doesn't mean you will look down upon somebody. Okay, so this is how we learn. This is the first, family is like the first stage of socialization, of first place where we learn things. So value inculcation happens this way. Okay, all right, let's move ahead. So value inculcation, see it, like I told you, it means developing some ethical standards in the child. Okay, so teaching the child to behave with other people. Okay, teaching the child how to behave in some situations, right? So these are all value inculcation, so that the person, see what value does is tells you how to act. So the child will be taught all these things. Okay, so when all these are internalized, it becomes morals of a person. Okay, then we see that there are some long lasting values which have been coming along from generations, like patriarchy, casteism. Okay, these also keep flowing down to the next generations, particularly from parents and grandparents. Okay, and you can see that in the modern marriages also, like I've told you before, that somehow caste creeps in. Okay, somehow it does creeps in even in urban marriages or people from urban areas, it does creep in. Okay, so basically what are we doing? We are developing value in the future generation, in our children, in, okay. So what is that called? It's called value development. It's a process which is continuous, that is, it keeps going on. It does not stop at age 5 or age 10, it keeps going on. It's cumulative, that is, we do it in step by step. Okay, and it's very interdependent because it touches all parts of the personality. Okay, basically what you basically, let's say, in school and in house or in home, you learn something here that affects your behavior at home. You learn something here in the home, it affects your behavior in school. Okay, so this is, you might have seen this a lot of times, right? If a person is basically, many times parents are not really, soft mouth, soft tongued. Basically they might be abusive, so the person starts the child starts abusing friends at school also, because the person does not understand the real meaning of the abuse, right? So this is how it's an interdependent process which touches all parts of the personality. Okay, the behavior, the speaking manner, the thinking manner, everything. Okay, all right. So what is the best example? Mother. So Malcolm X, he said that mother is the first teacher of the child. Okay, whatever the message she gives to that child gives the same message to the world. So mother teaches values to the child brings those values into the world. Okay, all right. So this is a good example. You can use this quote anywhere, in ethics, in essay. Okay, so here are some examples, right? So basically Duryodhan, let's talk about Duryodhan a bit. He was sort of a maverick, basically sort of impulsive, right? Because in childhood he was not taught well, basically not taught about basically not to do some mistakes. Basically that is why he was very impulsive, right? So later on, even the condition got so worse that he didn't even respect his father. Okay, so such example can be taken. This can be an example of effect in the later years of not inculcating values. Then Mahatma Gandhi said that, oh, pardon me, Mahatma Gandhi said that his mother influenced him a lot. Okay, basically, he has accepted this in his autobiography that his mother gave him the spiritual angle, that he credits his mother as the source of his spirituality. So basically, he spiritualized the independence movement. And how he could do that? Basically, what I mean is non-violence, okay, respect and love for everybody, his love for Harijans. Okay, where did it come from? It comes from us self-understanding that other people are equally important. Okay, anyways, so Gandhiji's mother influenced him a lot. Okay, all right. So MS Swaminathan, okay, he also had a Gandhian attitude. You know why? Because his parents, you must be knowing who is MS Swaminathan. He is a renowned, basically great agriculturalist, father of Indian agriculture. More precisely, father of Green Revolution. Okay, so his parents were leaders during Quit India movement. Basically, second or third level, because the first level leaders were immediately jailed. Okay, so they handled leadership of Quit India movement, and from them, MS Swaminathan had Gandhian attitude, developed Gandhian attitude. This was accepted by him in his interviews. So basically, if you want to know about the leaders, you can see their interviews. Okay, that gives the real in-depth values they follow. Okay, all right. Okay, let's move forward. Then inculcation of values by family. How do they do it? By modeling, giving model values. Okay, then by talking with them, by sharing personal experiences with your children, then holding children accountable for mistakes, then descriptive encouragement, then telling stories. So these are the methods. Why am I just reading them out? Because we are going to discuss them in next lecture. It's already quite a bit of time. So we are going to discuss this topic and continue this series in the next lecture. Okay, so let's quickly have a recap. First, we saw the question, right? We discussed it. I hope you understood the value of leadership and value of ethics in life. Okay, you can use this example as in ethics in life also, not just in leadership, in life. Then we saw a few diagrams of previous lecture, leadership introduction. Then we saw what are private ethics, what are public ethics, what are the relation between them, how they affect each other, how our bureaucracy should do. You know, okay. We saw how private and public relation turn into each other. Then we saw that if if there is a relationship between private and public ethics, how it can turn into harmony and conflict, and how it harmony and conflict affects the society. Okay, and how it can be used. Okay, that we need to maintain a balance. Then we saw values, we defined it, we saw its features, we saw how to inculcate it in someone. Okay, we saw real examples, we saw this quote, then we saw these examples, you can quote them. Okay, then we saw we just took an overview of how family inculcates values. Okay, so this was the summary. All right, so in the next class topic we will be continuing with this role of family and all. Okay, and we shall be seeing dimensions of ethics. Only these topics are left. Okay, so in the next lecture we shall be finishing up with our unit 1. Okay, so today's question is, politics without principle is a social sin. I think you can remember this. This is from Seven Sins of Gandhiji. Okay, so please write an answer on this. Have a outline with yourself. Okay, but I would request you, please write it so that when I discuss the nitty gritties of the answer writing, you are able to relate more and you are able to remember more. So if you don't do this exercise with me, you will be at a loss, and if you join a test series somewhere, you will be able to perform better over there, right? So it will give you ultimately confidence. If you practice well, like I said, practice makes progress. So if you practice well, you will make progress and you will certainly learn how to think. So do some stuff. I am not asking you to write a perfect answer. Write it, revise my session, write it, write the question. Okay, and then when I tell you how to think about it, you will be able to learn how to think. That is my aim. I will give you a perspective, okay, in the answer. We will be focusing on content, but I will also tell you how to deal with the question, because in the exam ultimately, see, I'll give you the content, ultimately it is not going to help you if you don't know how to write it. Okay, so that's what we are going to do. So please write some answer. Okay, at the very least, please think about it, create a rough draft. Okay, all right, so this is for your benefit, please do this. Okay, this is very important. I am stressing a lot on this because mains is like 70% answer writing. Okay, 60 to 70% it's answer writing. That depends on where your preparation is. Okay, so right now there is not lot of time to grasp content, so I'm being very precise, and I hope you are able to learn visually better. So we need to practice a lot, and we will also have 2 answer writing sessions at least. Okay, one is for sure. If I feel I need to take another one, I'll take another one, in which we will discuss some good questions and also some good previous year questions. Okay, so that is there for you. But this, when we do this, we are doing this from the topics we have done. Okay, so we have read about this social sin. Okay, we have read about the sin which I'm talking about. We have discussed this about this. We have discussed about this in the lecture. So please do it. I'm requesting you again and again. We have to focus on answer writing. Okay, that's how we'll improve. All right. Okay, so that's all for this lecture, guys and girls. I hope you liked it. I hope you had good time. Thank you for patience. Thank you for your patience. Thank you for listening. We'll see you in the next lecture. All right. Okay. Bye. Bye, everyone.